All right, guys. It's game time. I think it's fun to get into game week. I think our guys are excited about playing somebody else, game planning, really working situations. I think that's part of the game. I think they're sick of hitting each other. I think it's a great opportunity to find out where we are. I say this all the time. We can feel good as we stand out there. And you had a good day yesterday, and this guy looked good, that guy looked good. But it all comes down to what you do on Saturdays, and nobody cares what you did the last 2 years. 20 wins are never going to get you a win this year. Our goal is to go out and look sharp on Saturday and beat Wofford. It's a good football team. It's got 14 returning starters, 7 on offense and 7 on defense, 5 on offense and 2 specialists they got back. The head coach, Sean Watson, is a great friend of mine. Goes way back. Obviously, he worked here for a couple of years, and we still stay in touch. Just a super coach, and has been a head coach before. So you think about it, they didn't win a game, before he took over. And again, got a lot of respect for the head coach prior to that. But just a little bit of a change with the offense coordinator and someone else calling it, and Sean taking over as a head coach. I mean, they're 3-3 as the interim head coach, and that's how he got the job. Officially, I'll congratulate him in the media. I'm happy for him and his wife. It's a great opportunity, for him to take over that program and have something great there. So, questions?
Is this the first time you've ever coached against someone who worked under you and is now a head coach?
Worked under me.
Or worked for you?
I've only been a head coach going 8 years, so I would say yes.
What are your thoughts on that dynamic? Is it a little weird for you? Are you excited for it? What's that going to be like for you?
I think it's no different than playing against someone that you know, whether they worked under you or worked with you. I don't know if that matters. I mean, you look at Scott Schaefer, the head coach at Syracuse for a long time. I mean, I would think, I've known him for a long time as well. I don't care. I didn't work for Scott, but we worked together. Again, I don't look at it as work for, work underneath, all that. Who's the boss? Who's not the boss? It's about people, and to me, I treat them all the same. It doesn't matter. But so I played against guys that I've worked with in the past, whether it be as an assistant or a head coach. It's always you never want to see anybody lose, especially your friends, and you never want to get beat by your friends. So it's always tough that way, because they're friends of yours, and you want to see them have success every game except the one they have to play you. So.
Did he help you get the GA job at Miami?
There's no question about it. No doubt about it. I helped myself. I think I worked hard enough. But I think you get what you deserve in this business, and really all businesses. But started off as a defensive GA, working with linebackers, and Tim Karras and Terry Hepner on defense, and Jack Glowick. And then my second year, Randy Walker moved me over to offense, so I was working with Sherman Smith, who was a running back coach. So I was coaching running backs. Sherman Smith is unbelievable. Played for Seattle Seahawks and a long time in the NFL, and coached with the Seahawks before he retired. And then the third year came around, and I was getting ready to leave to go to Vanderbilt with Jerry DiNardo, and they hired me as a receiver coach. So he certainly helped me. I don't know what the word was on the side, but and then he not only helped me get it, but he did more than that. I think is coached me up, because I wasn't a receiver coach, and I'll never forget. We went into Millette Hall, which is a basketball arena at night. When we got all the work done at night, and he coached me up on releases and routes and all things I needed to know as a coach. So it was I'll never forget that, and I attribute a lot of things I do just teaching wise to what he was able to teach me back in the day. And he was a heck of a recruiter too. Sean Watson's a great recruiter, so I learned a lot of recruiting stuff from Sean Watson.
When you watch the tape from Wofford when he took over as head coach from last season, do you see a lot of similarities from his offense here at Pitt?
Yeah, there's all these zone plays, and there's definitely the Sean Watson influence on their offense with all the 12 personnel and all the outside zone, inside zone, the wide zone as he'll call it. So you certainly see all the same stuff. You don't see as much jet sweep stuff, but and then I think an influence from their offense coordinator now, who at least is calling the plays. We assume, but Coach Watson could certainly be calling them as well. But because he's a receiver coach, there's a lot more passing, so we expect some shots, which would be good. We need to see those and find out where our secondary is.
What about him knowing your defense? Being in this building for 2 years, scrimmaging against it. I mean, Is that something you have to take into consideration? He probably knows what you like to do.
He knows what we like to do, but you still got to stop it. So does Coach Signetti. So does anybody that's played against us for 8 seasons knows. I think we're simple enough, Chris, on defense that people know what we do. It's a matter of making plays. We got to make plays on defense. They got to make plays too. Because we're so simple, and we could change it all up, against them. And obviously we got wrinkles from what we did a year ago compared to what we're doing now. But everybody's got wrinkles and changes they've made through the offseason, things that were good for you, things that weren't good for you, things we need to add to the package. But we've done that forever. But we're simple enough that we know what we're doing so we can play fast. And that's always been my philosophy, is don't do so much. We can junk it up and play slow. I don't think you guys would like what that would look like. So we're going to know what we're doing. That's what we do. So.
As recently as last week, you mentioned how Christian and Nate were in a decent competition for QB2 on your roster. Mm-hmm. On the depth chart, you got Christian listed right behind Phil. What did Christian do to kind of earn that spot?
I think we maybe hadn't talked for a week, but Christian was right there with Nate, and I think just at the end it kind of he but that doesn't mean Nate can't win a football game for us, as we know he's already done. He's a good player too. It just seemed like Christian got just a little bit more comfortable and didn't make as many little mistakes as Nate did. So that's kind of where it is. But that could change next week. You go out and have all 3 of those quarterbacks are working, with our offense. Nate won't be on scout team like he was last year, so he'll be right up there, competing.
What did Nate Temple do to earn the starting job over, say, Mackay?
He stayed healthy. I give him a lot of credit now. I didn't know if he could make it through a camp, a spring ball, and stay healthy, but he did. And we're excited he did. That's the first win of the year, is Nate Temple, stayed healthy. So we know Nate's a good football player, again, when he's on the field. So no one's really seen Nate Temple. So we changed his number from 16 to 6 because he stayed healthy and took that 1 off his jersey, and we're looking forward to seeing, Nate Temple make plays. We're gonna find out.
That's the same question about Dejan, wide receiver. What did he do to earn a starting spot?
Dejan's been pretty consistent through camp, and those young guys are right on his tail. I can tell you that. They're like nipping at his butt right now. But he's been consistent. He's really smart football-wise. I mean, for a guy that came in and he learned the offense quickly, so I think we'll know he's going to do the right thing. That's the first thing. You can have some guy run real fast. But he's done the right thing. He knows what to do, and he's shown out on the field. So again, we'll find out when game day hits. That's what I'm excited about, is find out what we have, because you don't know playing against each other. We're going to find out with new competition and find out how mature we are, and just where we are overall.
What did Jason Collier show in camp to have him listed as a 4 starter with Jacoby?
Yeah, let me look at that. Let me go look at your. He makes this stuff up, so I don't know. And the one thing I'll say about Jacoby, and I meant to tell you maybe in my opening statement, is Ryan Jacoby's out for the year, so that's where that or is at right now. Ryan, got hurt early, and I shouldn't say early, mid-camp, I guess. Not in a live situation, not in a thud situation, in an individual situation, and so Ryan unfortunately is out. We're going to miss him, and let me just tell you, he was having a heck of a fall compared to spring ball. He had footwork issues and stepping with the right foot fast enough to get where we wanted to be, but that was all gone. So that's a big departure in my opinion, because he was playing at a high level. But we're going to get him healthy and get him back. But we're excited about where he'll be in the future because of what he's learned from spring ball to now. But unfortunately, we won't have him with us.
What can you say about what DeAndre did through the course of camp to get himself in the fours at the top of the defensive tackle position with 3 guys that started games for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's a constant battle. I mean, all 4 of those guys are starters, in my opinion, and that's why this depth chart is. You guys talk about the oars and this, and I mean, you got a bunch of oars because you really can't say that they're not starters. Some of these guys, it's the same thing at the corner position. I mean, it's AJ, MJ, and Quez. There's 3 starters without a question. It's which one's going to start this week, which one's going to start next week based on how they practice and how we feel the matchups are. But your question was about Zero and DeAndre Jules. We took his 9 off as well because he had a great camp. I mean, he's big, he's physical. That's a guy who just keeps getting better. And, if he has a great year, I can see that guy, playing in the NFL. I mean, he's big, he's physical, he's got a good pass rush. You know, he's playing at a high level right now. So it's gonna be a big year for him to show us, you know, show the world really what he's got inside. But he's just a big man. He looks like you're supposed to look.
Pat, how hard is it to prepare for a team when you don't know who their starting quarterback will be?
It's hard. You know, you don't know what he's going to be. You look at last year's guy, and their last year guy, kid from Pickett in Ohio, was really good. And I'm sure they got another really good guy right behind him. You just don't know. He played actually the guy that we suspect that's on their depth chart that we kind of anticipated would be starting coming into this game. He played a little bit in the spring season of COVID, I believe. And so, you know, we've got very little tape on him, but we've got tape. But, you know, that's 2 years ago. He's not the same guy, and he played behind a really good player last year. So, you know, I know Sean Watson's a quarterback whisperer, so he'll find a way to get that guy to be productive. He's the quarterback coach, I'm assuming, still. Because of the staff, I think they've still, at that level, have still 6 assistant coaches. I know they got quality controls, probably coaching stuff. I'm sure he has a top assistant quarterback coach, but he's probably the guy that's in that room with the quarterbacks daily, in my opinion.
With Jacoby, is there a current plan to maybe seek a medical red shirt so he can try to come back next year? Or has he talked with you about that yet?
Yeah, I mean, we'll take care of that when his eligibility's over. You really don't ask for that now, to get I don't know, was that 6th year, 7th year, 8th year? I don't know. But yeah, we're certainly, if that's something he wants to go after, we'll certainly take care of that and request that.
A couple of weeks ago, you talked about consistency being built throughout training camp. Were they able to show that, maybe specifically from Phil too, were they able to show that in these final 2 weeks of training camp to lead up to this week?
You mean our team or?
Yeah, I know you mentioned the team, but
Yeah.
also there was a specific part in there about Phil.
Yeah.
He was completing a high percentage of his passes
Yeah.
and really
Yeah.
developing along.
Yeah, we were, we ended up being consistent for sure. I mean, I think, what you saw, I mean, again, there's those consistent guys and inconsistent guys, and you try to change and get more consistent than you do inconsistent. The guys that were still inconsistent, they still were inconsistent probably. Maybe we took, maybe 3 or 4 guys that were, inconsistent and put them to that next level. It's like, hey, they got it. But, we just got to put them in position to be successful. And, and again, practicing is different than playing a game. Sometimes you see more out of a guy in a game than you do in practice. And you're like, what are you doing? And I thought near the end, I think they got sick of playing against each other, to be honest with you, this last week. So I think we needed, it was time for a change. And again, Saturday will be our change.
Last season, Bengali started out at star with you guys, but this year you have him at Money and Solomon at star. Can you talk about the reasoning behind that and what they both showed?
Yeah, no real reasoning. I mean, they're both good players, and Bengali's played a lot out there at that position too, so they're interchangeable based on who we're playing. To me, there's no difference. I mean, one guy plays in space, one guy doesn't. Bengali's had a lot of reps out there, so, there's really, I couldn't give you a great reason except for they're both good athletes, and maybe Bengali is probably physically suited. Probably the best reason I'd say is Bengali's physically suited to do both, but maybe a more physical guy in the box, where I would say, DeShields is probably the less physical. If I had to say, which one is more physical, I'd say Bengali. And Bengali's a heck of a blitzer, and we like to blitz. So we're able to blitz him, and not that DeShields has gotten become a good blitzer as well, and we'll blitz him from the field as well. But I would probably say just the physicality and the extra year of playing. I think Bengali's like 230. I don't know what DeShields weighs. What's DeShields weigh? On the sheet, at least. It looks like it says 225. So, Bengali's a little bit bigger, I guess.
What did the 2 starting safeties do to earn those spots, Javon and PJ?
I think I told you earlier, Javon's had a great spring, and he had a good fall as well. And PJ had a great, I challenged him back after spring ball about, being a better communicator and doing all the little things. And PJ actually had a, really good spring, or excuse me, a really good fall camp. So, and again, but we got guys behind that. We're going to find out who our starting safeties are after the first couple games. I think, and kind of have an idea of like who, who's going to get it done when the fire's burning.
Last year you opened with West Virginia, so we didn't really ask you about it then, but in previous years we've always kind of asked you about these season openers and your approach, how you've gone about it. Has your approach evolved over 8 years, 9 years, to how you go into these games and how you view them, either to kind of get rolling with the whole offense?
No, not really. I mean, I think, I think game one is game one, regardless of who you're playing. Obviously, I think the kids get more cranked up if they were playing, Alabama or Georgia in the opener as opposed to Wofford. But that's my job, is to get their tails ready to go, which I will. So open up with West Virginia. I think there was a lot of motivation and a lot of juice for that game. So I kind of prefer those, but it's nice to have a game that that you can make a couple mistakes in and hope you still got a chance to win the football game. If you make too many, you get beat either way.
I asked earlier, and it kind of turned into announcing the Jacoby news, but what did you like about Collier for him to be listed as starter?
Right. I didn't give you an answer. Again, those two were battling it out. So, and Jason was having a good camp as well. But Jason's been here for a long time. He knows the system. He's smart. He's played right guard. He's played left guard, and he just naturally fit into that spot. And he's been playing guard for a long time. So, to me, it's we always talk about our older guys, playing their best football right now, and Jason's playing his best football right now. He's going to have the opportunity, and we got a lot of faith in what he's doing, and it's going to be fun to watch Jason Collier go play. Former recruited tight end out of high school, big athlete, got bigger than I thought he'd be. He's about 240 pounds, I think. I took his dessert away the other day. He said, slow down. Took his brownie away when he was playing cornhole. He was mad.
How would you describe the personality of this group?
Of the whole group, Larry, the personality. I think we'll find out. I mean, they're all we got a great group of guys. I mean, we got character guys in here. I don't want to say polite, but we'll find out on game day. To me, you find out what this, what the leadership is in this room. We're going to find out if they really take ownership on game days and how bad they want to win. But we got great guys. I mean, the personality, again, pleasing. I mean, they're pleasing. They're pleasers, I think. I think our football team is pleasers. They want to do what you want done. And we're going to find out how pleasing they are on September 2nd.
Two more. Jerry, go ahead and then Jerry. Gonzalez has played both sides. Did he see most of his time at one side or another this summer?
I would say about 50-50. 50-50. Why is he left tackle? Because he's your best tackle. I would think you always want to put your best tackle at left tackle, right? If we had a left-handed quarterback, maybe he'd be a right tackle, but you want to protect the back of your quarterback, and he's our best pass protector. But we got confidence in Branson Taylor as well. So.
My question was also about Matt. He's always done what he's needed to do. What led to him being named captain, and what kind of honor does?
I don't know. You have to ask the players that, because they voted on him. I didn't vote. None of our coaches had a vote on that. But unanimously they voted in those three guys. But I think number one, that the guy that gets voted captain is a guy that's proved it on the field that he can play. Okay. But I think he's a guy that's on the field and off the field the same guy. There's not too much talk. He's gonna lead with his actions, but the words that do come out of his mouth are meaningful. And I think that's probably an important thing about a leader. And Matt's going to lead when he needs to be led. If something's wrong, he's going to step up and say something in the huddle. I know that. And again, I'll say this: Phil Jakovic is probably the leader of our offense, right? I mean, I think anytime you got your quarterback, he is the leader. Okay. And I think there's that's a fact. So Phil really is the leader of the offense, and again, Matt Gonsalves is the captain of the offense. But everything's going to go with Phil, and he will be the biggest leader on offense, in my opinion. He's just not a captain. So.
Okay. Coach, thank you very much. Thank you.
Anything else? EJ's cutting you off first week.
Yeah,
we can.
Okay.
Like he's in a rush. I think he's got a date later.
What are your thoughts on? My wife is watching this now.
I'll have another film thing after this.
What are your thoughts on college football's week 0?
I was wishing this weekend I was playing. I think it's good. I mean, it splits it up. It gives more TV game for the industry and all that. So I think it's good. Now again, I think this week 0 and more games, and I think with the playoffs there'll be more week 0s. The positive is there's football, okay, on TV. That's the positive. The negative is those guys had to come into camp a week earlier. Okay, so you're moving into July, and again we're beating up our kids. So there's just another week of football, another week for the coaches, another week for the players, and the coaches are fine because it's just mental part of it. We know we're not physically running ourselves to death, but these kids it's just another week on their legs. It's another week that, during the season to get hurt. And you might have more injuries near the end of the year if you're starting that early. So that's the negative of week 0. And I know there's a lot of head coaches out there that want to play week 0 because a kid's got to come into camp, which means it's, another week of academics. So now we are in camp, and now we had 2 weeks of school as opposed to this year we had 1 week of school when camp started. So, we're back into, playing football when we got school, and that's not good either for the kids if we truly think they're student athletes.
Did you get done everything you wanted to get done this summer? Did you see everything you wanted to see this summer? Yeah,
I don't think there's. If you said, "Hey, you got another week of camp. What else do you want to see?" I'm ready to play. I think our kids are ready to play. I don't think there's anything else. If we strung this week, of camp out a little bit longer to see, hey, they've had enough. They're ready to. They're ready to play somebody else. They're ready to game plan and perfect a game plan towards a game. So I think they're ready. There's nothing else. So I've seen everything I can see.
How much versatility has MJ shown in your secondary, and how much does having Marquez and AJ back help him?
That certainly helps. I mean, that's a strength of our defense out there, at least in the secondaries. Those 3 corners that are all 3 starters. The versatility of MJ. I don't know if he's he's versatile. He's a playmaker. I know if I was an offense coordinator, I'd probably not throw it his way. Those other guys are going to get more targets, I would imagine, because he just goes and gets the ball. You can have a perfect pass. This guy somehow comes up with it. Our quarterbacks find that out this spring. So I would imagine, the other guys are going to get more targets. We'll find out as we go through it. But he's really mastered his game. And, the thing about MJ is he's a competitor. So he's versatile. And, again, those other guys, it just gives you depth. Again, all 3 of them are big-time corners, and all 3 of them could play in the NFL, in my opinion. So so they're all good. Again, with I guess AJ being right in the middle, I'd say Quez is more of a nifty player. I mean, he loves. I mean, you run a bubble to his side or something like that, he's going to make a play. He's physical. For a smaller guy, he's pound for pound one of the toughest guys on our football team. AJ's kind of in between those 2 guys, so we got a good blend of players there.
How much confidence does it give you? You have the 3 returning corners there to maybe help in the secondary to break in those 2 safeties that have never really started before, other than one.
It helps. You'll see our corners, at times making calls to them. Okay. Usually our safeties, are the quarterbacks of the DBs, and they're making those calls. But if you're watching, you'll see the corners now are making calls to the safeties, saying, "Hey, let's play this." So they'll make their little checks there. So you'll see, a little bit more of that because they're comfortable doing it, and just to take some pressure off the safeties. Good question, man. I like that one. Good. A little football there. You guys be watching the corners, see if they're making some calls.
You had another walk-on or a scholarship that was announced this weekend. I mean, how nice is that for you to just be able to give all 3 of these guys something that you feel they earn?
Those were 3 guys that we had targeted going in, thinking that those were going to be the guys, but they had to go out and earn it, and all 3 of them did what we expected them to do. I mean, Junko had a great fall camp. And then the last one, and obviously Lappy, but the last one there, Jake, and there was no order of which one was, the first one. It just worked out that way of, when we wanted to do it and how we wanted to do it. But Jake's had a great spring, and he had another good fall. I think maybe at times he pressed it a little bit. So I think this gave him a little bit of a relief that, okay, I got what I've been working for a long time, and now I can go play football. And I think that will, make him play even better.
Is Bear going to get much action at guard at all in practice?
He's going to get action at guard, at tackle. He'll play
more now that Jacoby's out?
There's no question. No doubt about it.